I had a opportunity today to have a conversation with a client. It wasn't that long ago. It's been a long day, but I could not end the day without having this conversation with you and talking a little bit about emotional blackmail. In speaking with this client today, everything that I heard was emotional blackmail. This this idea of being able to be manipulated in ways that really play on your fear, your obligation, and your guilt. We call it the fog. Is it is so incredibly manipulative and damaging that I had to speak on it. We got to stop it. We have to stop it. Some time ago, Susan Ford and Donna Frazier. Susan Ford is a PhD who wrote on the tactics that are used for emotional blackmail. And in the book, I think the book is actually called Emotional Blackmail. It has a subtitle to it. I read the book a while back, but I was able to pull on some of the things that I got from that book in having this conversation. And one of the tactics that's used to really kind of manipulate and control people through emotional blackmail is called the fog. And that is where people play on your fears, your obligations, and the guilt that you have to make you do things that they want you to do. They use those things to dominate or to make you feel as though you have to do something. And it almost renders you powerless because it works. It works. They use things like fear, and emotional blackmailers basically create fear in the person that they're trying to manipulate by either using threats or like things that they know about you or things that cause anxiety in you, maybe some sort of power that they may have over you. Maybe it's, they may be the breadwinner in the home, or maybe it's something where it's a physical abuse or mental abuse or some sort of something where there is some sort of a control. Maybe it's financial. Maybe you're dependent on them for your food, or dependent on them for your livelihood, or maybe you face some sort of punishment if you don't do the things that they want you to do. Or maybe it's just fear of being alone, fear that they will leave you, fear that they won't be your friend, fear that they won't stay in a relationship with you. Or how about this, even worse, fear that they will somehow not be friends with you or talk about you in a bad way or do something to you or somehow inflict something negative, something that causes you to be afraid to stand up for yourself or to take a position on something. And that's one tactic that they use to create these emotional barriers or blackmail you into doing things in ways that are not traditional. It's not like they are holding you ransom and, you know, holding you in charging a ransom, not holding you ransom, holding you hostage and charging a ransom. But this is other things. This is like they use fear to manipulate you. Another one is obligation. And this one, in with the obligation, it is that they make you feel as though you're indebted to them somehow, or somehow you owe them something based on maybe something they may have done for you in the past favors, maybe something where maybe maybe they're older and they somehow had to, may not even owe it to you. Maybe it's an older sibling and they took care of you when you were younger for their parent, maybe for your mom, even not even something they were doing for you. You were just the beneficiary of it. Or maybe it's something where they helped you get a job, and now every time you turn around, they're talking about, you wouldn't have had this job if it wouldn't have been for me. Or even they may have given you something, whatever it is, may have given you clothes or may have given you food or at some point, or maybe even helped you with something. I don't know, whatever it is. But even with that, it's manipulation. It is a form of manipulation, and they frame their demands as though you somehow owe them something. And the most critical part of that is that they make you believe it. And they put you into some place where it feels like, where you feel like if you are indebted to them, and that they are somehow a victim, and they make themselves feel like a victim, make themselves seem like a victim. And if you don't do something, then now you're further victimizing them. And that causes you to feel obligated. Maybe it's, ooh, this is a good one. This is another one where it's that obligation piece. They make you feel like you owe them because you've done better than them. What? Like you're somehow obligated to give them something, and we fall for it. We do it. We believe it. So you work hard for something, and now it's like, well, you have it, so you're supposed to give it to me. So it sometimes even shows up as entitlement, or like you have some sort of obligation to do something that you work for. Now you owe it to them because you work for it. Yeah, that's triggering. But yeah, so it's those kinds of things. Maybe, or that you should somehow feel guilty because they don't have. And now because of that, guilt is another one. Guilt is another, and that's a powerful tool because they exploit really a sense of responsibility and cause you to blame yourself for maybe what they don't have because you do have it. Or maybe you start to feel bad because of an opportunity that they did not take advantage of and you did. Or an opportunity that they maybe didn't have, but you did. Or a decision that they didn't make and you did, as though they may not have had the opportunity to make the same decision when they actually did. They just chose not to. So then you start to feel guilty about it, or by making you feel like you're selfish, or because you won't give away something that you worked hard for. Or maybe it's guilt because you may have some sort of, maybe have made a mistake in the past and you feel guilty because they remind you of that mistake, as though you have to live a life sentence paying for it over and over and over and over again. That's manipulation. People make you feel selfish, make you feel like something is wrong with you, exploit you with a sense of responsibility as though you owe them something that you really don't. I want you to understand that whole fog thing, that fear, that obligation, that guilt, it keeps you in a fog. It keeps you in a space where your mind is constantly wondering if you're doing the right thing. And it is emotional blackmail. It is a thing that is designed to hurt you and to keep you from moving forward. But guess what? We're going to set you free. Because guess what? If you worked hard for something, you deserve it. And guess what? If someone didn't work hard for it, they don't. And it's not your responsibility to keep making up for their failures or what they didn't do. Think about it. If they were somewhere doing something different and you chose to make a different decision, that doesn't make them a bad person, but it doesn't make you a bad one either. It doesn't mean you're better than them. It just means you made a better choice. So stop beating yourself up and stop letting other people beat you up, because it's not fair to you. And you are not obligated to entertain entitlement. Entitlement is the result of people misplacing their expectations. That's it. Entitlement are misplaced is a misplaced expectation. A sense of entitlement is only a misplaced expectation. People should never expect you to take responsibility for what they did not do. And that's what happens when they start to feel as though you should have fear, obligation, or guilt. And they use it to manipulate you into thinking that you should do something that you are not obligated to do. It is blackmail, it is emotional blackmail, and it is unacceptable. And today you don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to take it anymore. You don't have to feel bad about it anymore. It is over. It is over. Free yourself. How do you do that? Let me give you 3 quick tips to do it. The first one is stop listening to it. How do you stop listening to it? When you hear it, you see it, you know it, you recognize it, you already know. End the conversation. Because you know it's a trigger for you, and until you get strong enough to be able to say that you're not going to accept it, then you have to not listen to it. Forgive yourself for all the time that you've accepted it and let it go, because it's not true. Ask yourself, did you actually earn what you have? And if you did, then you deserve to have it. The second tip is to encourage the person who's using emotional blackmail to find their own strength to change their own outcomes, and let them know that you're no longer going to take responsibility for it. And you just have to find the words to say it. The easiest way to say it is, I'm no longer taking responsibility for that. And get ready for them to be upset. And if you have to remove yourself from the situation, do it. Because that's what you need to save you. It's hard. It's tough. And it hurts. It hurts. Because it may mean you may have to see people show you who they really are in ways that you know it's there, but you would always pray that you never have to see it. But you know it's there. You've seen it. You've seen the red flags. You saw it the last time you had to say no. And if you've never had to say no, ask yourself why you've been afraid to. And the last tip, if you're not ready to do it yet and you're not quite capable of doing it, set some boundaries and some parameters. If it's something that they need you to do or something that you're being asked to do, try saying something like, not right now. Try not right now. And realize that there's nothing for you to be fearful of, because you can control your outcomes. You have the authority to do that. You are not obligated to do anything. You're not obligated to take care of adults who have the responsibility of taking care of themselves and filling in their own gaps. And the guilt that is used to manipulate you, release it. Tell your own story. I always say you can't blackmail me, because, what am I going to do? Get in trouble? And tend to tell my own stories. I'll tell you. Just ask me. Because I'm never, ever, ever again going to be manipulated by anyone who thinks that they're going to sell a secret. Because I don't have any. If you ask me if I did something, probably. I may have. But what I found out too is that there are a lot of stories that are told that simply aren't true. And I don't have to spend the energy or the time trying to convince you, because what I found out is the people that really matter don't care. And the people that care don't matter. So I'm going to encourage you to get rid of the fog. It is a tool of emotional blackmail. Those are tools of emotional blackmail, and you don't have to live that way. You don't. You're free. You are free. We are declaring it and decreeing it right now. You are free. And people that use it, again, doesn't mean they're bad people. They just have not met the refined version of you who will no longer accept it. So with that being the case, stand up and say no more. No more. The fog is clear. Your mind is clear. You are not fearful. You are not obligated. And you are certainly not living with guilt. Permission to love yourself wholeheartedly and authentically has been granted. Take care.